The Iraqi Dinar today latest news. We are commencing our broadcast tonight with a financial development that has the profound potential to be one of the most unexpected, significant, and globally impactful currency events we have seen unfolding into 2025. For every one of our viewers tuning in at this crucial juncture, you are positioning yourselves to grasp the intricate details of precisely why the intense focus of millions of financial observers worldwide is abruptly and decisively pivoting towards the economic powerhouse of Southeast Asia. What appears to be transpiring is a silent yet colossal structural upgrade across numerous, geographically diverse banking systems, executed with an almost unprecedented degree of discretion. This was not heralded by the typical clamor of major financial media headlines, nor was it accompanied by the customary formal declarations or press releases from governing monetary authorities. Yet, despite the complete absence of public-facing noise, the indelible digital trail now clearly visible deep within global settlement networks is conveying an absolutely unmistakable and verifiable narrative. It is now evident that core global banking infrastructure has fundamentally and officially activated a new configuration. A distinct, updated international exchange rate for the Vietnamese dong is actively populating in the sophisticated internal systems utilized by major banks for high-level clearance and settlement operations, signifying a monumental shift that countless currency observers have been anticipating for many years. This event, which we are tracking in real time, is a phenomenon that possesses the capability to radically transform global commerce frameworks, dramatically influence the psychology of international investment, fundamentally redefine the positioning of regional currencies, and alter the fundamental flows of cross-border finance in ways that analysts have spent the better part of a decade debating, modeling, and hypothesizing about. The magnitude of this back-end movement cannot be overstated, demanding our immediate and comprehensive attention. We must clarify with absolute certainty right at the outset that what we are reporting this evening is not born of speculative enthusiasm generated by unverified online communities. It is not derived from unconfirmed whispers circulating in unmonitored investment forums, nor is it a mere rehash of old, unfulfilled narratives from past years. This is a very real, verifiable system-level event, unfolding right now behind the digital curtain of the world's financial architecture. Our commitment this evening is to methodically dissect this situation with complete clarity, maximum simplicity, and unwavering accuracy, ensuring that every single viewer comprehends the full weight of what is currently transpiring in the concealed depths of the banking world. It is essential to understand why this specific development matters on a global economic scale, and what its implications are for every individual who meticulously monitors the world of international currencies as we move further into the new year. The necessity of a comprehensive understanding of the technical mechanics at play cannot be overstated, which is why we strongly encourage you to remain with us throughout the duration of this specialized report. According to meticulously gathered internal reports now surfacing from multiple, geographically distant financial institutions, the emergence of the new rate for the Vietnamese dong did not manifest as a single, isolated software patch or a routine internal test entry. Instead, it appeared as an integral component of a synchronized, deliberate rollout across several interconnected secure platforms that global banks rely upon for daily, high-stakes settlement and rate communication. These are not the consumer-facing displays seen at your local foreign exchange counter, nor are they the general-purpose public websites that everyday consumers check for daily currency snapshots. Furthermore, these platforms are definitively not the standard retail forex applications that often provide delayed, aggregated, or sometimes restricted rate data. The systems in question are the highly secure, sophisticated, and protected infrastructures that banks deploy to finalize actual, real, world transactions with their counterparts, to complete the complex processes of international settlement, and crucially, to prepare their operational systems Major fundamental rate adjustments long before those rates are officially released into general public circulation. The mere appearance of a new exchange number on these specific, internal banking platforms instantly carries an enormous level of weight and technical significance. It is universally understood within the financial industry to indicate a fundamental, structural monetary movement rather than simply ordinary market fluctuation or speculative activity. We have now received credible, cross-verified descriptions from banking personnel situated in widely disparate international jurisdictions. These regions span continents and include locations as varied as major cities in the United States, Canada, Australia, and various financial hubs across the Middle East. Each of these individuals has reported the same observation. A distinct new number is now populating the internal field where the previous, long-standing dong rate resided. While these professionals are strictly bound by non-disclosure agreements and are prohibited from publicly revealing the precise figures, the sheer consistency and synchronization of these observations across such diverse geographic territories point conclusively to a coordinated, global activation that is already in progress, not a local system malfunction or an arbitrary technical routine. When central and global banking systems undertake the synchronization of major rate updates in this specific, highly controlled manner, it is a near absolute certainty that the respective central bank has already granted final approval for the rate change. The international network then enters the critical, final, stage phase of preparing to disseminate that officially sanctioned rate into the public sphere. This particular, highly deliberate pattern of synchronization is the exact reason why financial industry insiders are treating this unfolding moment with such an unparalleled degree of seriousness. As this new valuation continues to populate in the secure backend systems, a growing consensus among deeply experienced financial experts confirms that this activity is not associated with a random, periodic system refresh. Nor is this activity simply related to any standard annual technical maintenance cycle that banks undergo. Instead, this visible backend activation appears to be directly linked to a much broader, long-term timeline of comprehensive monetary modernization that Vietnam has been proactively and systematically pursuing for over a decade. For years, Vietnam has invested substantial national effort into strategically reinforcing its economy, aggressively expanding its massive manufacturing base, consistently increasing its global export volumes, deliberately forging robust new trade agreements, and critically upgrading its entire digital banking and payment infrastructure to comply with the highest international standards of financial integration and security. As the country's undeniable global economic footprint has expanded exponentially, a fundamental question has persistently been raised by top-tier economists. Why has Vietnam's currency remained artificially suppressed and weak compared to the unassailable strength of its real-world production capacity, its impressive trade surpluses, and its overall macroeconomic stability? This persistent, long-standing disparity between the tangible economic reality of Vietnam and the corresponding valuation of its currency has been the subject of countless specialized economic reports and scholarly white papers over the past decade. Now, with this new rate activation clearly manifesting across major banking systems, leading analysts are concluding that Vietnam is finally executing a long, planned move to align its currency's value with its genuine, verifiable, tangible economic strength. It is a well-established pattern when emerging economies successfully reach this advanced stage of national development. They frequently initiate an adjustment of their currency to accurately reflect their newfound, stronger economic fundamentals, especially when such a strategic move is openly supported or encouraged by influential international financial institutions. The confluence of the carefully selected timing of this shift, combined with the quiet yet universally visible changes we are tracking inside the core financial systems, strongly suggests that Vietnam's central authority has determined that 2025 represents the precise, optimal strategic moment to formally activate this change. This critical decision is most likely driven by a national objective to solidify their elevated standing on the global stage and ensure that their currency commands the same level of respect that their now formidable economy has demonstrably earned. For our viewers who may be curious about how the major global financial institutions typically manage such monumental system-level events, the procedural answer becomes exceptionally clear when examining their internal communications, rate alerts, and the preliminary, confidential instructions issued to their frontline staff during similar historical currency adjustments. When major banks detect that a new currency rate is imminently preparing to go active globally, they routinely dispatch extremely strict, early directives advising employees not to process any transactions involving that currency until every connected system has provided a final, confirmed signal of total synchronization. This vital, essential precautionary measure is implemented to preemptively prevent any potential transactional discrepancies, eliminate the risk of rate conflicts between various international branches, and ensure that customers are not allowed to exchange currency at the old rate just moments before the official public release of the new rate is finalized. According to the internal reports surfacing this evening, several major banks have already distributed analogous internal notices concerning the Vietnamese dong to their crucial frontline and back-office staff. These internal messages reportedly contain highly specific, telltale operational phrases such as pending activation, rate locked, or await global sync confirmation, all of which strongly indicate that the deep back-end architecture of the global financial network has already been fundamentally switched over. Even in the scenario where the public, facing exchange numbers visible on the street, have not yet visibly altered, this internal messaging and synchronization process is the exact, recognizable operational blueprint observed during other major currency adjustments in previous years. It acts as the definitive technical pattern for how major reevaluations are meticulously and predictably executed. The private, highly specialized world of institutional banking is invariably made aware of these imminent structural shifts well before the general public is, simply because the extraordinarily complex digital systems require a thorough, painstaking calibration and testing period first. What we are witnessing tonight aligns perfectly with how these major rollouts typically unfold when they involve a fundamental restructuring of a national currency's valuation, lending substantial validity to the reports we are receiving from banking insiders across the world. Many of our dedicated viewers frequently ask why the global banking networks choose to update their rates privately before any public announcement. And the answer lies entirely in the fragile and delicate nature of international financial stability. When banks are systematically preparing for a monumental change, especially one that could instantaneously influence billions of dollars in daily global capital movement, they must rigorously ensure that every financial node across the globe is precisely aligned and communicating the identical, accurate data. Even a marginal discrepancy in the data could trigger catastrophic settlement delays, cause massive numbers of failed cross-border transactions, or lead to exceptionally complex and costly legal disputes between financial institutions. This extreme sensitivity is the primary reason why these system-wide updates always commence silently, appearing first on the high-security terminals used exclusively by Treasury departments, currency trading desks, and international settlement teams. These screens are the ones that reflect the true, actionable rate that banks will ultimately be required to use when processing actual, final exchanges. Tonight's unfolding developments strongly resemble this quiet, critical rollout phase, during which the new rate exists fully behind the secure digital curtain, but has not yet been formally released to the general public for general exchange. This phase serves as an indispensable critical buffer period, which can operationally last anywhere from a few intense hours to a couple of full days, depending entirely on the specific size, sensitivity, and complexity of the structural update being implemented. The ultimate, overarching goal of this deliberate delay is to proactively avoid an unforeseen currency shock, ensure comprehensive liquidity stability across all markets, and maintain the smooth, uninterrupted functioning of financial operations across all global time zones. For the Vietnamese dong, this early internal activation is a definitive indication that the revaluation process is already fully in motion, and may become publicly visible much sooner than many had previously theorized or anticipated. The unambiguous appearance of the Vietnamese dong's new rate on these protected internal banking screens, when combined with the consistent, verifiable reports emanating from entirely different global regions, points powerfully to one singular global conclusion: a monumental structural shift is definitively underway. The timing of this event is certainly no mere coincidence when one meticulously examines the broader, underlying macroeconomic picture of the region. Over the past several years, Vietnam has methodically positioned itself as one of the most rapidly expanding and dynamic economies in all of Asia, successfully transforming its infrastructure into a sophisticated manufacturing powerhouse, an emerging technology hub, and a major global exporter of electronics, advanced textiles, industrial components, and an increasing volume of high-value goods and services, with scores of global multinational companies systematically relocating their massive operations from other regions into Vietnam, drawn by significant cost advantages and its stable infrastructure. The country's economic influence has expanded dramatically and irrevocably. Yet, notwithstanding this truly impressive, sustained growth trajectory, its currency's valuation has remained significantly depressed, far below what a substantial majority of economists believe accurately reflects its true and formidable strength. This persistently growing disparity between Vietnam's fundamental economic reality and its suppressed currency value has continuously built up enormous mounting pressure for a necessary and timely adjustment. With global trade now more complexly interconnected than at any previous point in history, and with regional economies in Asia rapidly realigning in response to new geopolitical alliances and production strategies, 2025 appears to be the calculated moment Vietnam has chosen to definitively realign its currency with the world stage. As more details continue to emerge from the internal banking channels, financial analysts are also pointing out that this Vietnamese currency development is arriving shortly after another significant monetary shift that has recently captured widespread global attention: the ongoing, dedicated currency modernization steps being undertaken by Iraq. While it is crucial to recognize that each country is distinct and operates according to its own specific, unique economic conditions and internal timelines, astute observers have noted that Vietnam and Iraq have been modernizing their core financial systems in remarkably parallel ways for several years. Both nations have worked diligently to upgrade their complex banking networks, adopt rigorous new digital compliance standards, dramatically improve their export infrastructure, and integrate more fully and deeply with established international financial frameworks. Although the significant monetary moves by Vietnam and Iraq are not officially linked by any formal treaty or agreement, the observed proximity of their respective modernizations has led some analysts to describe these as components of a broader, systemic global financial recalibration that emerging economies are now increasingly beginning to embrace across the board. When one developing nation successfully modernizes and adjusts its currency to a value that is considered fair and reflective of its economy, it often serves to inspire confidence and can prompt similar, parallel behavior in other developing nations experiencing similar economic growth and currency undervaluation. With Vietnam now displaying such clear, undeniable signs of a major adjustment behind the scenes of global finance, this action may ultimately reflect a larger, systematic trend of currency recalculation happening worldwide as nations seek to finalize the alignment of their currency values with their hard-won economic progress. The modern financial environment is arguably more interconnected and instantaneously responsive than ever before. And when a country with the manufacturing and trade prominence of Vietnam adjusts its currency, the resultant economic ripple effects are felt far beyond its immediate geographic borders. Global corporations that rely heavily on Vietnam for massive scale manufacturing output may soon be forced to thoroughly revise their existing contracts, adjust their internal price structures, and update all cost calculations for raw materials, finished goods, and labor. International investors may find themselves compelled to reevaluate their current asset allocations or actively search for new investment opportunities suddenly created by a stronger, more balanced, and more stable currency in the region. Regional economies throughout Southeast Asia, including neighboring countries such as Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia, will likely be prompted to re-examine their own currency strategies to ensure they maintain a necessary competitive edge in the fierce global export market. Even major established economic powers such as China and Japan are mandated to closely monitor these movements, as a significant currency valuation adjustment in a country like Vietnam directly influences regional trade balances, export pricing competitiveness, and the long-term economic forecast for the entire Asian continent, with the dong now conspicuously showing new activity and a new rate on internal global banking screens. Today's development has the power to influence regional financial and trade decisions for many years into the future. For numerous countries across Asia and beyond, this moment is not just about the local currency of Vietnam. It is fundamentally about the accelerating, significant shift in the entire economic landscape across Asia. One of the principal reasons tonight's development is attracting such intense, focused attention is because of the sheer rarity of global banking systems quietly and simultaneously updating a currency rate of this structural magnitude across such a vast array of multiple regions. Minor technical patches and small updates happen often, but synchronized. Structural rate changes of this fundamental nature are never the result of chance or accident. They demand explicit, top-level approval from central banks, meticulous coordination with all major international clearing houses, and precise alignment with complex cross-border financial laws and protocols. These intensive processes are never undertaken casually or without a profound, strategic national purpose. When multiple banks situated in completely separated, distinct geographic regions display the identical internal rate update within a mere few hours of one another, it is the most credible indicator possible of a coordinated, top-down instruction originating from the currency's sole issuing authority. In this specific and monumental case, that authority is unequivocally Vietnam's central bank. It is critically important for all viewers to grasp that central banks do not adjust major national currency valuations frequently or lightly. When they choose to do so, it almost invariably reflects deep, planned economic motives. Whether the strategic goal is to accurately reflect the nation's stronger fundamentals, substantially improve international investment confidence, definitively correct a long-standing undervaluation, or stabilize the overall financial environment, these decisions are inherently strategic, focused on the long term, and meticulously planned out years in advance. Tonight's observed system behavior perfectly aligns with that established pattern, strongly suggesting that this is a fully intentional, officially sanctioned, and executed move. Viewers who are diligently following this unfolding story must also understand the crucial, absolute difference between speculative rumors and tangible structural indicators. Rumors originate from uncertain, unverified sources and entirely lack verifiable system evidence to substantiate their claims. Structural indicators, conversely, arise from direct, undeniable changes within the core financial architecture itself, such as the active rate population on protected banking platforms used for mission-critical cross-border settlement. These secure systems do not upload imaginary figures or speculative numbers. They exclusively display actual, authorized, and immediately actionable updates that are mandatory for the banks to prepare for. The Vietnamese dong's clear presence on these platforms is a decisive confirmation that the back-end system has already received and accepted the new rate, and is now actively preparing for the final public rollout. Individuals who have monitored major currency developments for many years universally understand that this specific kind of behind-the-scenes activation is one of the clearest, most reliable signals that a real, fundamental move is actively unfolding. It does not provide an instant guarantee that the public exchange rates will appear within the next hour, but it unequivocally confirms that the entire, irreversible process has begun in earnest and is structurally locked in place. Banks do not possess the authority to casually undo such system updates unless instructed to by the central bank, an action that is extremely rare and tremendously disruptive to global finance. In summary, once a new rate appears on these highly restricted internal financial platforms, it has an overwhelming statistical certainty of continuing its journey toward full public visibility in the immediate short term. For individuals who may currently hold Vietnamese dong or who keenly follow major global currency trends, the single most important course of action right now is to remain consistently patient, thoroughly informed, and absolutely calm. It is entirely normal and expected for exchange centers, local retail banks, and public-facing online platforms not to yet show the official public updates during this critical activation stage. Depending on the specific region and the complexity of its systems, the public visibility of the new rate may lag behind the internal banking activation by several hours or even, in some cases, 1 or 2 full business days. Banks must finalize all internal procedures. Managers must issue the final operational instructions to staff, and all systems must achieve total synchronization before any new public-facing number can safely appear on the teller's screen. Rushing prematurely to a local bank or demanding an instant exchange based on unverified information could lead to unnecessary confusion or undue stress for all parties involved. Instead, the intelligent approach is to diligently monitor updates only from credible financial news channels. Watch attentively for the first official public announcements from major local financial institutions, and patiently wait until the public-facing screens conclusively display the fully synchronized and stable number. When a rate shift of this truly massive magnitude is being meticulously orchestrated behind the scenes, the final step, the public visibility, is almost always the most straightforward and least complicated part of the entire intricate sequence. In Vietnam itself, initial reports suggest that domestic financial institutions were diligently preparing their systems and procedures hours before the first wave of global banking updates began to appear. Some domestic ATM were reportedly paused temporarily for recalibration, which is a standard, essential procedure when major digital banking modifications are being implemented on a national scale. Banks are said to have conducted urgent internal briefings, advising employees to finalize system readiness checks and strictly maintain absolute discretion until the global synchronization process reached its successful completion worldwide. Such detailed, comprehensive procedures are entirely typical when a nation is preparing to align its currency with newly approved, fundamentally revised values. Central banks often find it necessary to enforce temporary, low-key limitations on public currency trading activity during this precise period to preemptively avoid premature information leaks or uneven rate exposure across the financial system. Although not yet officially confirmed by government sources, these reports align perfectly with the predictable behaviors observed in previous large-scale currency adjustments executed in other countries around the world. If Vietnam has indeed followed similar, well-established protocols, it is a powerful indication that the revaluation was not a reaction, but a planned, tested, and systematically executed move managed through a structured timeline designed to minimize market disruption and ensure total global consistency International financial institutions are known to play a key, active role in supervising or providing critical support for major currency transitions, particularly when a rising emerging economy is seeking to modernize and decisively strengthen its global financial position. Although there has been no official statement from these bodies today, analysts universally note that Vietnam has a strong historical track record of working closely with major financial organizations, while implementing its most significant monetary and banking reforms. Such groups provide invaluable assistance with governance guidance, compliance verification, risk assessment modeling, and ensuring full alignment with prevailing global economic conditions to guarantee the transition is as smooth and stable as possible. Their deep involvement ensures that sudden, unexpected financial shocks are successfully avoided, and that the transition definitively supports the long-term stability goals for both the nation of Vietnam and its crucial international trade partners. When a currency is shifting from a state of being artificially undervalued to one that accurately reflects its stronger, hard-won market fundamentals, it must be executed in a highly controlled, predictable, and fully transparent manner. Tonight's indisputable behind the scenes update strongly suggests that powerful global financial institutions may have been quietly and discreetly preparing for this specific shift for a considerable amount of time. Major financial reset processes are consistently proven to be most effective when coordinated across international borders, and the precise level of synchronization we are observing tonight hints at a profound level of planning and logistical preparation behind the scenes. The world is currently navigating a new multipolar economic era where emerging nations are rapidly gaining greater economic influence and where advanced technological progress is accelerating the pace of financial integration. Vietnam's impressive, sustained growth trajectory has firmly established its position as a genuine rising economic force within Asia, and tonight's unfolding developments are a powerful, undeniable reflection of that new reality. A stronger, revalued dong signals not only confidence in the country's strategic direction, its growing manufacturing dominance, and its undeniable political stability, but it also sends a clear message that global markets must now acknowledge and respect the rapidly growing power of nations that were previously underestimated on the world stage. Vietnam has strategically invested heavily in expanding its digital infrastructure, successfully attracted massive streams of foreign direct investment, meticulously modernized its entire supply chain capability, and firmly established itself as a reliable, high-quality alternative to other major global manufacturing hubs. As these monumental achievements continue to compound, the country no longer accurately fits the old mold of a low-value emerging market. Instead, it now convincingly resembles a powerful, rising middle-power economy that is demonstrably ready for greater and more accurate financial recognition. Tonight's distinct internal rate activation marks an essential symbolic and entirely practical milestone in that complete national transformation. The far-reaching influence of Vietnam's monetary move will extend well beyond the immediate circle of currency investors, significantly impacting global trade agreements, long-term manufacturing partnerships, commodity price stability, labor contract negotiations, and regional financial balance sheets. In direct response to this fundamental shift, countries that are heavily reliant on Vietnamese factories and production, including major economies in North America and Europe, will soon need to urgently revisit all of their internal cost structures and potentially renegotiate many long-term supply contracts. Major technology manufacturers and international apparel companies, many of whom operate sprawling, large facilities within Vietnam, are expected to adjust their financial modeling to accommodate this new, stronger currency positioning. Concurrently, Vietnam's closest Southeast Asian neighbors will be meticulously studying this shift to determine if they need to implement corresponding proactive currency strategies to maintain their own regional competitiveness. As the activation process continues its programmed unfolding, Industry insiders predict a careful, gradual, and fully controlled release of the final public rate. The clear, early updates currently visible on the core banking screens are a concrete indication that the back-end synchronization is already successfully underway. But the public may not see the official numbers until every single global node confirms its full, verified readiness. Once the public-facing banking systems finally receive the comprehensive update, the final stage of the revaluation will become instantaneously visible worldwide. Financial analysts anticipate that the moment the new final number appears, major global media outlets will rapidly report on it, accurately framing the development as a major, strategically planned monetary adjustment. At that critical moment, broader public awareness will accelerate dramatically, and attention will swiftly shift to fully assess the immediate and long-term impact on global trade, international investment flows, and regional economic stability. In conclusion, tonight's extraordinary development marks a truly historic moment for the nation of Vietnam and constitutes a major, structural event for the entire world of global finance. The new valuation of the Vietnamese dong, which is now quietly and unmistakably appearing across multiple, interconnected banking systems around the world, signals the definitive start of a long-awaited financial transition that has been anticipated by the most insightful analysts for many years. This fundamental change is a direct reflection of Vietnam's rising economic power, its demonstrably strengthened global financial position, and its successful, sustained efforts to comprehensively modernize its entire financial infrastructure. As this critical activation continues its final phase behind the scenes, methodically preparing for its final public release, the world is watching with intense interest. This moment is fundamentally not just about Vietnam's currency. It is about the broader rebalancing of global financial power currently underway. We strongly advise all of our valued viewers to remain highly attentive to all forthcoming credible updates and to maintain patience and calm throughout this necessary synchronization process.